I think I'm the only person that has read the Infernal Devices and doesn't like Will Herondale. I need to talk about this. Hi, I'm Sarah and welcome to CoreMoodz. And today I'll be talking to you about the Infernal Devices series by Cassandra Clare. I think even if you don't know the Infernal Devices series, you've probably heard of the term Shadowhunter. The Shadowhunter world is a world that Cassandra Clare created, and there are a lot of different series, trilogies, connected. I think most of them, if not every one of them, is connected. Most of them are set in a different time. A lot of the characters connect. And I grew up with the Immortal Instruments books. Those are 6 books. I watched the movie. I know everyone says it's a horrible movie, but I really liked the actors and the aesthetic. There was also a TV show. After reading the 6 Immortal Instruments books in my teenage years and when I was in my early 20s, I kind of closed off this chapter of my life, because I feel like angsty YA was the thing to read at the time because of the success of books like Twilight and the Hunger Games series. I think there were a lot of attempts at recreating the same magic. What has prompted me to read the Infernal Devices or attempt to read this trilogy? First of all, Princess from Princess Dolls talked in one of her reading sprints about possibly maybe wanting to read all the books in the Shadowhunter world. At first, I was only interested in the Infernal Devices because the Infernal Devices is a prequel series. It's set in the Victorian era. It has a little bit older characters. I thought at the time I was intrigued by the premise. On the surface, the Infernal Devices series presents as a fantasy YA trilogy. If you just read the synopsis, it comes across very typical for a book that would have been coming out for that age range at the time, because it has a love triangle. There's a supernatural conflict. There's a hidden world. Most of the books coming out of that era for this targeted demographic center around the same elements. So that's what I expected going into it. Just a little bit of a nostalgic, angsty time, and I got more than what I expected. Underneath this very familiar structure, it's way more complex. It's a narrative concerned with identity, mortality, and ethics of love. In this supernatural London, supernatural structures exist alongside strict social hierarchies. This series is dark, gothic, and steeped in fog and candlelight. It's very dreadful in a very quiet way. The story contains a sense of unease where beauty and danger exist side by side. Love in this story seems so fragile, and yet it's ever consuming. It's less focused on fear, more about atmosphere and what is happening, how does something feel, and there are like a mix of emotions going on. There's a sense of melancholy that is all over this story, and I feel like feels very haunting. If we talk about the plot, I'm going to try to be non-spoilery. So as I said, the Infernal Devices is a prequel trilogy set before the Mortal Instruments books. So there is a little bit of a connection with one of the characters being an ancestor. I think the choice for a Victorian era was amazing. I could imagine the world, the fashion, the buildings, the atmosphere. And it helped when it came to the gothic elements of the story. So the first book, Clockwork Angel, starts with this girl in a very horrific state, scared, in survival mode. We learn that her name is Tessa Gray. Tessa Gray is our main character. She's orphaned, and not just that, she is by herself, and she has discovered that she has this ability to shapeshift. In the Shadowhunter world, the list of abilities that she has classify her as a warlock. But nothing is as it seems, because there's from jump questions about her lineage, and also because she doesn't show the typical warlock marks, even though she is displaying warlock abilities. So there's a question about what she is from jump. She gets entangled into the Shadowhunter world because Shadowhunters are this world's equivalent of government, police, control. Just they make it their responsibility to make sure that the underworld and the mundane world, the world where humans live, are separate, and that if someone tries to harm humans, that they are dealt with, and also if there's unrest and chaos in the underworld, the specific leader of the fraction is making sure everything is organized and everything is dealt with. Shadowhunters are trained from a really young age. So Will Herondale and Jem Carstairs are two shadow hunters. They're, I think, in their late teen years, and they are fighters and trained, and they are also each other's parabatai. And in this world, this is a link that makes them be a unit, so they can draw on each other's powers. They do everything together. They fight. They are brothers, so they're connected. Their emotions are sometimes even linked. So it's a very intense thing because you choose your parabatai for life. So Tessa gets entangled into this mystery. Both of them with her become this unit, and they are conquering the conflicts that arise in this trilogy in different ways and different aspects. I think I really like that it wasn't just a supernatural conflict. There's also sexism, misogyny. There's also what can women do in that time? What are they allowed to do? Can women do the same kind of a job, or can they lead in the same way? Do they have those kind of qualities? Can people come together to support a woman? And also, when it comes to Tessa, identity, because of her gift, because of the shape-shifting, she doesn't only shape-shift into the people, she can think what they think. She can remember memories that they had if they passed away. So her gift is very interesting. So for her, there's like this struggle when it comes to identity. Who am I versus what am I experiencing? So I think that's also a very interesting aspect. I think because it's 3 books, there's like this overarching conflict. There are a little bit of twists. There are the smaller mysteries and reveals. So I think the series was very engaging, very interesting. I do feel, having read the first 6 books in the Mortal Instruments series, in the Infernal Devices is way darker. And not just in the, it's gory way, but more in its emotionally darker and heavier and a little bit more serious. Because I think that the things that these characters are dealing with are a little more adult than I think the conflicts that were in the first series. I think, to me, there were 2 themes that were very interesting. First of all, love as sacrifice, not as possession. I think that was very interesting, especially for the time that the story was set in, to have characters that have these kind of mindset. Why this trilogy was very refreshing is that it resists the common YA angsty triangle structure, and also it doesn't feel like she should pick this person. Oh no, she has to pick this person. There is like a bigger thing going on, and I think that was very interesting. I think also the 2 male characters being parabatized and being able to, they need each other, they love each other, they're brothers, they're everything to each other, and they love who the other person loves. And so I think them being in love with the same person is also very interesting. I really like the way this was handled. It wasn't a competition. It wasn't, I will get her, I can impress her, I can do this for her, I'm the better choice for her. There was no rivalry, and I think I really loved that aspect. So the second theme that I was intrigued by was morality, existing, and if you live for a short time versus if you're immortal, the quality of life, and how, what kind of life decisions do you then make. I think that aspect was very interesting, especially because you see characters that are immortal in the main series, and then they are also in this series, and then you realize, oh, this story is also part of their life. So I think, to me, that aspect was also very interesting, and to see this theme being replicated in different ways with different characters, with different conflicts, I thought was very interesting. One of the main characters speaks a different language. I think Chinese. I'm not sure if it's Mandarin or Cantonese, but I really loved the way that it was integrated in the story. How he, in moments, used the language that he grew up with, the language that is his mother tongue, as a way to connect, a way to emote his emotions, to express the intensity of how he feels. I thought that was very beautiful, even though I didn't understand what he was saying half of the time. When it comes to mortality, I don't think I've ever thought, oh, time is a very important aspect when it comes to how someone perceives how they are being loved. That should have been very obvious, because if you love someone and that person and you don't live in the same place, can't see each other, can't spend time together, or don't make time for each other, whether it's, and what I'm talking about, just a normal human thing, let alone if one of the 2 of you is an immortal being. So then you're just a blip on their radar because they're going to live forever. So then who are you to them? I think I was very interested by this. As I said earlier, the Victorian setting to me was a perfect choice, because at the time there was this caution in Europe when it came to scientific knowledge, to progress, to how things should be done. So I think when you look at this story, on the surface, it can reflect the Victorian attitude when it came to being cautious, when it came to knowledge or scientific progress. But I think within the broader narrative, it becomes this kind of metaphor for hidden depth, both in the systems that were at work in this trilogy, but also when it came to the characters and the way they were internalizing and trying to understand and trying to communicate and trying to emote and trying to bring change. I feel like this is a very progressive mindset from characters that were, I just, it's amazing to see people tackle themes in times where those themes and things like women working or falling in love with a maid, the ramifications, the ways that you can't marry a maid as a gentleman. I just feel like we have come a long way since those kind of things. I feel like there's like this duality within the story. Like the exterior is very structured, and then interior is very chaotic. And I really love those kind of stories. So this is a quote by Will Herondale. "You endure what is unbearable and you bear it." In the first book, I feel like we're getting to know the characters. We're trying to understand where they are. We're trying to understand what the mystery is. Who is on whose side? How can we achieve? What are the obstacles? Who is the big bad? And I feel like in the second book, the obstacles get bigger and there are people's loyalties shifting. And the third book is this explosion of emotion that has been held and decisions that have not been made and choices that have to be made. And I think I really loved this way that the arc of this series was handled. I think why I really liked this series in comparison to the Mortal Instruments. The Mortal Instruments is just about plot. It's about characters angsting and loving each other and yearning. The plot is really important in the Mortal Instruments, and then the romance is like also really at the center. I feel like the Infernal Devices, even if there was no romance, I don't think that would change a lot about the story, but it would change the focus of the story in that the characters are what holds this story together. They are like the focus. We are in their minds, from their POV, trying to see and understand who they are, why they are the way they are, and how they communicate that. And I feel like there were so many moments that I thought, oh, it's so great for this character to just communicate and say, this is what I feel, here's where I stand, this is what I'm afraid of, and this is what I want and what I can't have. So then this is what we should do. I think it's so open and so communicative, and I really appreciated the transparent way you get to know the characters. Yeah, the Infernal Devices is focused on the characters, and I think the Immortal Instruments is way more plot based. And now we come to the controversial part of this video. I did not like Will Herondale, so I never fully connected with him. So in the beginning, he's like a little bit distant, a little bit too cool for school. He's like the quiet person, a little bit snarky. Sometimes he felt mean and superior and also cold, and I just did not like him the way he was being mean. Some stuff he did and also said, I just don't like, and I feel like did not need to be to that extent, even though I understand that because of his background and because of the situation he was in, that was the way he thought that it was best handled. After there was a reveal and a situation changing and him becoming a little bit different, honestly, he became a little bit boring to me. I think a lot of people, when there's a character that is tragic, that is haunted, that is being mean, but you know there's a reason this person is being mean. You want to know, you want to understand, you want to heal this person, you want to support this person. I'm not that kind of person. Understand why they're mean, how they're mean, and I wish them to be better, but I just can't handle that kind of treatment. I just don't get the whole quietly loving and then still, there was a disconnect. I just didn't understand him, I don't think. So I couldn't connect with him, so then I never warmed up to him. On the other side, Tessa and Jem were both very clear. I could immediately connect with them, understand them. Even when I didn't agree, I just could understand the way and the point that they were trying to make and the way they were thinking. I don't like the mysterious dark boy with a leather jacket standing in the corner. That's like not my thing. Tessa, to me, feels very empathetic, very grounded. And Jem, on the other hand, he feels from the beginning, had this huge emotional impact. He leaves a mark. He's there and he understands and he has like this depth. And I just really liked Jem. So that's why I think Will was a little bit harder entry point for me to connect with when it came to the main three characters. But I do really understand people liking him. He's like mysterious. He's tragic. He has layers. He makes all these references to literature. I think his story adds context. It just didn't translate into me loving him or enjoying him. So ultimately, to me, the Infernal Devices was not defined by originality of the premise, but by its consistency tackling themes that I was interested in. It used fantasy conventions and tropes in a way to tackle themes like identity, love, and mortality, rather than telling a very expected story. The focus on meaning, memory, mortality, connection, I just feel like that part of the story was really impactful to me. And honestly, I thought I was just gonna have a little fun, silly, angsty YA time, but I was surprised and a little bit impressed. So, did you read the Infernal Devices? What did you like? What did you hate? Which characters were most interesting? Are you gonna read the Infernal Devices? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching and bye.